I've learned over time that you cautiously wade into the local sports world, and you have to have like it's one where I won't just truly improvise. Like if I'm going to talk about your team, I will have taken a second to be like, I have a good take?
Yeah.
Because if I don't have a take on this team, you can't just ramble into,
Yeah.
The Bills are kind of a wacky team.
Yeah.
You're like, you can't.
You'll wander into saying something that they're like, what the do you mean by that?
But that is the nice thing about being a DC sports fan is same thing as like you had at the game where like no one takes me seriously.
Yeah.
Because it's always like, anytime someone's like, oh, yeah, I'm like, we're not a thing. And they're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are bad. So you're allowed to talk shit when you're bad.
Yeah. I mean, that's what's fun. And so every little victory. I mean, and that's what I've noticed about every Commanders fan that I've talked about, or every Commanders fan that I've talked to. They've talked about the Commanders like they're just like, yeah, what can we do?
This is truly the first time as of 2 weeks ago that it's like the first time it's like we can actually potentially be a good team now.
Yeah.
But up until then, it was like,
yeah, there was no chance.
We'll just be bad. He'll just sell everyone good.
Yeah.
That was my life.
Like I said, you have to be, if you're a billionaire and you have billionaires all around who have no other problems, and you're their number one problem, you couldn't be a good person. If other billionaires who have no problems.
Do you ever try to wrap your brain around the billionaire thing?
I've tried once, and then I never thought about it ever
I tried
again.
at one point. I was like, $1 million is so much. And $1 billion is so many million. Like it'll blow your mind when you start thinking about the amount of money.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
And there nothing that we ever do will never do that. It will never.
You have to be Kevin Hart. You have to be someone who is so you have to basically like I did a commercial with Kevin Hart, and it was watching him was like, oh, he's losing money every time he's acting. Because he would leave the set and he would get on a business call and you're like, oh, that's for more money. That's what he should be doing. Why is he here? He's doing this sponsorship deal to make money, but that's the real money he's making.
Take the call, Kevin.
The call is more important than what we're doing here. That was what was like really like mind blowing to me. It was like, oh yeah,
he's on the phone with a commercial making company.
Yes, and it's like, oh, he's smart. He's so smart.
Have you ever had a dream that you had to do so much you could do anything?
Yeah, now you're an actor and a stand-up, but here's the thing: I've seen your work with both, and you're so good at both. It's very rare to find somebody who I think you meet a lot of comics who they're very good at being comics, and then you meet actors and you're very good at being expressive, and but to do both is it's very rare, and it's very exciting to see it when you can meet someone who like is clearly passionate about both. Is there one that you like doing more?
No, I mean in my mind, and someday, God willing, if I ever can keep momentum in this town for more than 5 seconds, in this gosh darn town, I will keep momentum long enough where I will have to make a choice. Right now, I've never had to make a choice.
Yeah.
Like even during the busiest of my acting days, stand-up's a nighttime activity. It's usually daytime, nighttime.
Yeah.
So I've never really been that split. So I've never felt the need to pick. I think even then I would always want to do both. I'll never stand-up. I love so much, and acting I love.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of like, and actually in a dream world, I like it because I think it'll keep me from having to do terrible things.
Right. Yeah.
Like, there's actors I know who it's like, if they don't work for a year,
you got to pick up something.
They're like, we got to do something. So they just have to take whatever kind of starts coming their way.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I love in theory, I'll always be like, I'll just do stand up happily.
Yeah. Like right now is a prime example with the strike and everything. It's
your boys learning how to do the road. Sure is hard. If anyone can figure out this algorithm, I sure do hate it.
figuring out how to do the road. It's such a sassy commercial for what the road is. If you learn to do the road, you learned to manage your expectations.
Yeah. Hey, you know, when you book the thing and then when you work hard to do stand-up, good news. That's the least important part. How good are you at running ads on Facebook? That's the game, baby.
Oh, it's so true. And I think, I mean, you and I have talked about that, how that's such a big disruptor of the thing. Like, it's such a disruption to the joy of the thing that we're doing and why we're doing it. It's like you have to be your own marketing, business, all of this, and then maybe 15% at the end of your day goes towards something creative like stand-up. Maybe.
It's the amount of time I spend during the day being like, okay, where are we at? What am I going to do? How am I going to get? I mean, it's so much time on not stand-up.
Yeah.
To do stand-up.
And it's exhausting. It makes you look at yourself as more of a product than you want to. Like, of course, that's what we're doing and what we're selling is our ideas and writing and all of that. But it's so much different now than if we were to do stand up like in the early 2000s or 90s or whatever.
It feels like it used to be about, but I'm sure if you ask them, they'd be like, "That's not true either." But I'm sure it feels like right now one of the least important parts until you show up is the actual stand-up. Like, actual stand-up is that's why, like, I always enjoy watching you and I enjoy doing shows with you, because it's like I think you and I both really love the art form and are trying to maintain that love of a thing that, like, I believe in. I still believe, because I still go to shows and I'm like, yeah, but at the end of the day, I know who's going to do well in a show immediately. Like, I can almost always call it. And I'm like, who's going to struggle? But that does not contribute to that. Ticket sales could be very inverse there.
Yeah.
But I still believe at the end of the day, being good gets you to a place.
The quality is the thing that you have to maintain.
Totally.
You have to, and I think you're right. And honestly, I talked to you a few months ago because you dropped your special late last year.
Yes.
And it was really cool because it was an interactive, like a choose your own adventure.
It was a choose your own adventure special. So you get to pick my opinions throughout the special,
which is awesome because you have so many cool bits. And that was what I disliked about it. I was like, I want to see both. But I mean, of course you can. But that, like, you get to like choose whichever joke from Danny's that you wanted to hear. And while we were talking about it late last year, like, it really you inspired me as a reminder to be like, like, if you sit down and you work and you write something that you're hoping to, like, if you just go through the process like we've been taught for however long, at the end of the day, even the audiences who are getting latched on to certain crowd work things that have been involved in certain, like, little pivots of ideas that people are doing. We're seeing weird shit on stage lately.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And
some stuff going on stage these days that you're like, that cannot be enjoyable for anybody. I refuse to believe people are enjoying what's happening right now. Yeah.
but then you look at, like, some of the numbers and you're just like, I guess there's a market for that. That's so strange.
I think that if I were to give the saddest part of this entire thing is, if you had asked me 3 years ago, I'd be like, crowd work's so important.
Yeah.
I love crowd work. I think crowd work is essential to stand up. I don't think you can do stand up without crowd work. You have to do it. You have to bring the crowd in. And now I spend every night being like, we have to write jokes. We have to have some sort of structure. But somewhere in the middle lies a wonderful world that we all could love. I can't wait to find it. It's so sad.
Oh, it's so true.
They're doing whatever they want to do. It's exciting times. But I do think there is if I were to pull back my, like, I'm a comic, and I was to be like, I will say that there is something about some of the very good crowd work people where I go, this is chaos in a way that's very exciting. And it is undeniable that is a product that is kind of fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you go and you're like, I truly don't know what they're going to do next. That's cool.
Yeah. And if you watch somebody manage it well, I guess it's just like stand up. It's like if you watch stand up done well, it's so exciting. And if you watch it done not well, it's devastating.
Totally.
And I think what happened is the algorithm favored the stakes and the immediacy of things that happened with crowd work clips. And so it's like that episode of The Office where Michael's at an improv class and he comes in with a gun every time, and he's like, think about what's the most exciting thing that can happen in a scene. Someone has a gun. It's literally that's what I think like the crowd work clips have become is just like, think about the most exciting thing that could happen right now and then do this. And I even in 2019 we were pumping out a lot of like crowd work clips because we didn't want to get rid of any of our material. And in 2019 there were videos we would work on, and then at the end I wouldn't even release it because I was just like, this doesn't feel good. I feel icky about this right now.
It's I mean, I don't know how they do it. I don't know how you can put out some of those. I mean, yeah. There's the GoPros on stage. Like, there's stuff where I'm like, oh, it's so humiliating for this audience. This person came to enjoy your comedy and you're embarrassing them so meanly. But I still believe, granted, like, I still believe in it all. I refuse to quit on the audio. I refuse to quit on it. And I refuse to, like, I won't give in to the degree. You got to give in the sense of, like, look, I tell every comic, I'm like, listen, you got to play ball.
Yeah.
You're going to need to do social media. You're going to need to figure it out. Like, don't be one of those who's like, I won't do it. It's like, you're not going to make it.
Yeah.
It's not good. You got to play the game.
Yeah.
And I need to do something I always want to do a better job of. But I also believe the pendulum always swings. And I do believe, I mean, I think you're a great example of, like, you're just good and, like, it worked out and it's great. And also, like, you, if I were to compliment for a second, and you know I don't like to do this.
I guess, no, I know. This is weird for me to hear it.
Is the coolest thing about you is that you're always progressing forward, which is, like, kind of the number one thing I am always, like, excited by with a comic. When I'm like, I saw, Drew was very funny 5 years ago, but then I see him 3 years ago, and he's doing something a little bit different. And now your material is so much like you're just always evolving, which is so nice to see because you're still working. And that is, like, the thing that makes me so excited when I watch you.
Well, thanks. I think I spend a lot of time doing that thing that we all do where you're just, I like that you say that the pendulum swings, because it really does mean, nothing's forever. And it's nice that things have mutated from one comic's idea to another, and then people are kind of like, all right, you follow like a trend, you follow an algorithm, you follow, and it's good to I guess be malleable in that way. But I think it's so weird because I think my rigidity is a strength, and I think it's a weakness, and it's something I struggle with trying to keep in check all the time, because I try to stand by my convictions and be like, this is what I know to be true, or this is what I know to be the path. And then when you start to become too hardened to that idea, then that's when you start to lose your footing.
And you start to feel like an old man.
Yeah.
You start being like, this isn't what we did.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, who are we now?
Exactly.
So yeah, no, I'm always trying to embrace it, and I try to get excited by it, but I do. It's hard, but you're always getting better.
What's your process for stand-up? Because like anybody who doesn't know you now will know you eventually as someone who is such a great joke writer. So what's your process for how you approach something and, soup to nuts?
Soup to nuts usually starts with, like, a dumb phrase that'll, like, go in the middle of the joke. So it's like there's usually some, like, innocuous line in the middle where I'm like, that was actually the first line. But then to me it's a lot about, like, proving almost like a thesis. It's like I say a belief, and then I prove it. And it's me going through every. I mean, I really write long, right? So I take something, I go as long as I can, and then I start chunking it back down. But I'm always trying to drive forward to like that thing.
Yeah.
Then, like the last special in particular, like I at a certain point had this joke, and where I was like, you know, don't trust people, don't trust an opinion. Opinions are incredibly easy to be bought, and so I was like, you know, that became even bigger. Where I was like, okay, can this entire special prove this point? And that became like the art form. And now I'm like about to start a new hour that's a new special that's going to be built around another kind of point I want to make. And so that's always my thing is going out and being like, because I also think that's the most fun I love doing that. I love the feeling of like, because then you're almost out of stand up. Now I genuinely get fired up every time trying to prove my stupid points. I live for somebody in the crowd going, no.
Yeah.
I live for it.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, I'm going to fucking prove you wrong. I'm going to prove you right. And that's like my favorite thing is like really telling that, like, that becomes so fun. And so but that's it. It's usually like a dumb little phrase that I'll be like, this thing's stupid. And then like, you know, a week later. But then I also just bomb on stage a lot. Like on small shows, I will go up and like actively be like, this is gonna struggle.
I don't know that I've ever seen you bomb, Danny.
You've seen me. I have a lot of emergency chords I can pull. So you've seen me pull an emergency chord for sure. It'll happen quick.
And then you went on stage.
Yeah. Like there's a lot of times that like I'll pull the chord, and to most people it's like, you just kind of had like a little lull in the middle. But I'm like, that was supposed to be 5 minutes longer. Like I had 5 more minutes I wanted to say about that, and we just had to pull it. So I'll pull a chord a lot because I'm like, And then it's like if one little part starts working, I start building out. So then it's like, all right, I'm gonna have this hit. But then in my mind, I'm like, what's coming next is our real, and then that'll completely miss. I'm like, that's the funniest thing that like people don't like. The funniest thing, like my wife is starting to pick up on this, is when I'll go on stage and I'll do 20 minutes, but really I'm doing 3.
Yeah.
Like there's 3 minutes. I'm like, I gotta get this 3 to work. And she'll see me just in the middle of what feels like a great set to everyone else, the 3 miss, and just be like, whole night's a fucking waste. Like, people off stage, they're like, that was great. I'm like, this stupid high school joke ain't gonna cut it. It's the little chunk in the middle.
What's your coping mechanism with the idea that you, as you would say, had a bomb in that section? How do you feel after you get off stage mentally and emotionally around something like that you care about so much?
I feel bad, but then I feel upset, but then. But that's also the beauty of stand-up, right? Is like the beauty of this stupid art form is that you'll do it and it won't work, but then it will work. It's why when you do late night and they go, we love the joke, what if you tried it like this? And you want to be like, because I've done it. Because I've done it that way. Because I know why that doesn't work. I'll tell you about it. Like...
You have no idea.
You have no idea.
That's the first version. Oh yeah, let me take it back. Let's go back a few.
Let's go a few versions where I know it doesn't work because it disconnects in the middle. I know why this doesn't work. That's the thing I think most like stand-up bookers don't understand is like there's a reason we structure it the way it is, and it's because the other way doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have like, ugh.
Or when they try to, I mean, and it's hard with late night right now. I mean, obviously just because of the strike, but yes, due to the strike, but also just because TV is so like sensitive, like it has to be so clean now. It's like a clean set used to be a clean set. Now it's like so clean.
You want to know what's wild? So I've only done one true late night, sir, and apologies. And I did Colbert.
Yeah.
And I did a joke about transgender bathroom rights.
Mm-hmm. So funny.
At the time, no one gave a shit. If anything, I got a little grief from the left that I wasn't pushing hard enough, right?
Yeah.
That was the most.
Yeah.
I remember distinctly from the conservative group, I remember people being like, that's a fair, interesting point. I might disagree, but it was fair and interesting. Because I went about it in a way where I was like, very fair.
Yeah.
I repost that joke now in the future of when I did it. And people are like, how fucking dare you? Like, it is regressed. I could never get that joke off. I still can't believe I got it off. I can't believe it happened. It's the craziest part about my only true late night. Is I'm like, people hate it.
I know the joke. Please explain the joke. So
the joke is about bros and how I love bros and progressives in particular because they have a way of saying progressive ideas that doesn't make you want to punch every liberal in the face.
Yeah.
They say it in a nice way. They say it in just this dumb way where you're like, yeah, that's it. And so the line...
It's the spirit of it.
It's the spirit. It's the idea of just saying the thing. Just, why don't you? And like, they just say it. I love a bro. It's because of sports. I know so many bros. It happened at... The joke is based around Jocksters Daily in Culver City, which is a Commander sports bar.
Oh, hilarious.
That I would go to.
Hilarious.
And these guys would just be so... And I say this with love to the bros. They'd be so stupid. But they would then say things. And so the line the guy said to me was... Why would you give a fuck who takes a shit next to you? And I was like, that's the funniest way to put transgender bathroom rights ever. It's so easy when you say it like that. And so we obviously cut that down for late night. It was like, why would you care who takes a dump next to you? And let me tell you, the word dump. This is like also thing about like doing late night where you're like, oh, there's just so many nightmare parts to it. They were like, it was like a week before. They were like, we don't love the word dump.
Yeah.
And I was like, why?
Yeah.
And they were like, we just like don't love it. And so I remember I sent a list of 20 ways to say shit.
Here's crap. Here's pick up duty.
Drop a dump. Like, I mean, just literally.
And then when they come back and they're like, no, just say like a make a poopy. Like they say something, they give you an alt. This is like, could you make that work? And you're like, you cannot. I'm telling you right now to your face. That is so fucking not funny.
Crazy. And they kept, finally, I remember I wrote an email that I believe is one of the craziest emails of all time about why this joke had to be about, because they finally wrote a joke about like, we just don't love bathroom humor on the show. And I was like, it is not a joke about shit. This is a joke about the rights of people. Like I wrote this like monologue being like the word dump is meant to express a person doing what they're allowed to do in the place they can do it. It was the longest email and they finally were like, fine. Say dump. And then when I showed up to tape it, they go, just so you know, we might bleep it. And I went, I'm begging you to bleep it.
Yeah.
Oh, can I say shit then?
Yeah.
I was like, if we're going to bleep.
Yeah.
I would love to. Please.
A bleep is funny, though. A bleep can be funny.
Oh, my God. I was so pumped for a bleep. I remember when it aired, I was like, are they going to bleep it? If they bleep it, I'm about to make. I was so pumped. They didn't bleep it. Man, I was pumped for a bleep. I fought so hard for that bleep. So
that, I mean, that's changed quite a bit.
That joke could never go on air today.
Yeah.
I can't get anything on. I've tried every late night because I like doing late nights where it's one thought.
Yeah.
Every time I pitch it these days, they're like, "Are you out of your mind?" I'm like, I literally for the last special I wanted to do a late night to promote it.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do it where I was going to do this joke about David Blaine, and you can pick
I love that
for David Blaine against David Blaine.
I love that.
And I was going to do it where I was going to do 2 minutes of the first one and then go, I feel like this crowd doesn't like that. I'm sorry, I'm going to do it again, and let's say I hate David Blaine. And I was going to do the other side of the joke.
That's fucking great.
It would have been
perfect.
So cool.
Perfect way to like market that special. Perfect way to like show what you can do.
No late night would even like slightly entertain the thought.
Was this after Conan was like Conan's gone?
Conan was gone.
Conan would have gone for it.
I like to think he would have.
I like to think he would have. I mean, he's done bits where John Doerr and Rory Scovel are on stage.
One of the greatest late nights of all time.
know,
that's the most frustrating thing is you'll talk to these guys and they'll be like, you have to, and gals, and they'll be like, we have to do it this way. This is how late night's done. And I'm like, but look at some of the greatest late night sets, and there aren't many.
Yeah.
But like, to me, maybe the greatest late night set of all time, one of them is Gary Goldman's State Abbreviations.
Yes, so good.
One thought.
Yeah.
It's one joke. He just takes us through it. It starts so slow.
Yeah.
And it's iconic in my mind.
Yeah. At the end of it, you're just, how do we get here?
We were in such a wonderful place.
Yeah, he rallied you to battle. Yeah.
He rallied. And it cannot be overstated when you watch it at first. You're like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
I remember, how many late nights have you done?
One.
Yeah. I remember mine. How was your experience?
And
which one did you do?
I did Conan, and JP is fucking so awesome. He saw me at Bridgetown, and I didn't know he was there. It was just this late night, like genuinely a late night show where I was just kind of messing around or doing whatever, and I get a call a few days later, and it's JP, and he was like, "Hey, Drew, it's JP from Conan," and I was like, "Hey," like we'd emailed a few times, but like a long time ago, we'd emailed a few times, and then he goes, "I saw you at Bridgetown," and I was like, "Thanks," and he goes, "I loved the set," and I was like, "Oh, appreciate that," and then he was like, "What was it?" And I was like, "What?" And he goes, "What was the set? Can you do the set?" And I was like, "Right now?" And he was like, "Yeah." So I did the set for him on the phone, and he's like laughing it's the weirdest show I've ever done. He's like laughing, and I'm like, all right, I guess I'll keep going.
Trying to sell it?
Yeah.
You're like all sudden trying to get into it?
Yeah, I'm like in it now. And he goes, "Yeah, that's great. You want to come by next week?" It was so casual. It was so like, and then he just let me do pretty much what it was. This was 2017, so yeah, I loved it.
It was amazing. Yeah, mine was pretty smooth. I mean, I had the dump issue, but then we had our incident. But Jessica Pilot was the booker.
Yeah.
And she was really great. And the way Colbert also did it was 6 people tape at once.
Yeah.
Which was bad in theory, but in practice, she was so distracted. And I was just like, because I remember the night before we did, because she's trying to help people with their set.
Yeah.
And a lot of the other comics were really, really having a collaboration.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like off in my corner.
Yeah.
But I was doing one thing. It's the bro joke. It's the whole way through bros.
Yeah.
And I remember we did it at Stand Up New York. 15 people in the crowd. I bombed so hard. Like, it could not have been a worse. And I walked in being like, I would never do this joke in this room.
Yeah.
Out of like that.
Yeah.
Because when you do late night, you don't get to do your normal, "Hi, how are you?"
Yeah.
You got to like right into it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so,
like me right away.
right out. You don't know me, but
Here's
the thing.
I've sent a script back and forth
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
past 9 weeks.
Yeah.
You're not in it.
yeah. So I mean, my favorite is when people do like any of like the shows around town when they're like working on them and they're like have to walk on stage and be like, "This is gonna be weird. I'm not gonna talk to you guys again." So it's so not how stand-up works.
Exactly. And your experience that you, Danny, the comedian, has had over the years to look at a room and go, "This room is not going to like that joke. I'm going to change. I'm going to change." You have to be able to pivot your game plan all the time. And when you're taping for anything or working up to taping for something, it goes against that nature entirely.
Totally. Everything that you're in your mind where you're like, "Oh, I know," because it isn't me walking around going, "This isn't working." It's me going, I can make this work. I just want to do what you're going to make me do. And so I could do this in 5 seconds. I can get off this bro joke. I just need 4 minutes.
Yeah.
I need 4 minutes of just.
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
Yeah.
15 people.
Yeah.
So like, I just need a little time. Couldn't do any, and so I bombed so hard. And I remember she came up to me and she was like, "Hey." She's like trying to figure out how to say. She's like, "Hey," and I just go, "I feel really good." And she goes, "You do?" I go, "I feel really good." She goes, "All right," and just let me go.
Good for you, though.
I knew because I wanted her to be like, because I really was. I was like, I feel good.
Yeah.
I'm not concerned.
Good. That's good.
And so and to her credit, she was like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, which is also the way a lot of these late nights, I'm like, let them bomb.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
It's it's peep on the curtain. It's $1,000, if that.
Yeah.
So who cares? Like,
yeah.
Like I always was like, with the Colbert ones in particular, I was like, if one of us bombs, just don't air it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like that. That takes a lot. It takes a lot of being self-assured enough to say, I know that didn't go well. I know why it didn't go well, but I'm confident enough in what it is and what it will be to just say, I'm fine. I feel great. Because had you showed any sort of trepidation or whatever, she would have probably brought in some constructive to be like, so maybe we do that, because she wants to also feel good about you feeling good about it. But
totally.
But like I probably would have sometimes let the circumstance, and I get that way sometimes where I just like, no, I should be able to beat the circumstances. The set that I come into, like that's the rigidity I'm talking about, where that's my weakness sometimes. And I don't know that I would have had that sort of, that fortitude, that confidence to just be like, no, I feel good. I can, despite not feeling good, still being like, I know I will feel good.
Yes. And to her credit, 100% also being like, okay, like, if he's willing to go down with this ship.
Trust, yeah.
Because she also seen it work 100 times. It's not like she doesn't know it works.
Yeah.
But you see it not work the night before. You go, that's not great.
Yeah.
And I just went, trust it. The hardest thing for me, did your parents go to your late night?
No. I wouldn't have wanted them there. Your parents went to yours?
Yeah. That was tough. It's very emotional. Got very emotional for me.
Really?
Yeah, I was very emotional. I'm a very emotional boy.
Yeah, I am as well.
I'm an emotional guy. I try to always keep that in me because it's very hard to get hardened by this sick town. This nightmare of a town we live in. So I will. I really try to keep it. And I remember the night before I did I'll do sometimes like a visual kind of like, it's an acting thing that I think I learned where it's like you put yourself, all right, camera's here, blah, blah, blah. Like, let me walk myself through how I'm going to film this tomorrow.
Yeah.
And really like, not in like a acting way, but like in a practically, how do I think this is going to look?
Yeah.
Particularly when you're on for like a day or two, which is like plenty of the time on there. It's like, I'm not going to have time to like, be like, how does this set work? It's like, they're going to want me to. So it's like, and I put myself through, I remember like doing the set, I'm on the stage and I look up and I see my dad and I started to like cry in the shower. And then I was like, I remember coming into the hotel room being like, we got a new problem, Jess, my wife. I was like, we got a new problem. I might cry in the middle of the set. That was honestly my biggest fear going into it was, will I cry on stage? And I didn't. I didn't. I went completely calm on stage. It was probably the most fun I've had doing stand-up in my life was that Colbert set. Walked off stage, started to cry so hard. Again, poor Jessica Pilot coming up to me being like, she goes, it went well. I know. It's that more stuff. She was so confused.
It went well.
She was so happy. Well, because I think she was kind of pumped after the night before. She was like, it did go well.
Yeah.
and then I'm weeping.
Yeah.
She was like,
that's amazing.
Yeah, I cried real hard. I started crying a lot more in my old age.
What is it? What is it about that? Do you think? Why is it that you? Why is it that you got emotional about that? And then why is it that you've gotten more emotional as you've gotten older? Man,
well, I think that I think it's true for both of us. Of like, you and I haven't had. You and I haven't had the easiest roads, right? Mm-hmm. I've had to fight for a lot of stuff. I'm still fighting. Mm-hmm. I like keep catching some tough breaks, and so. But I fight, and I believe in that fight. I believe in what I'm doing. I believe in myself, as I believe you do. And so there's so many moments, particularly on the acting side also, when you chuck in acting on top of this, where I just get punched in the cock, and I just have to like call my parents, be like, just tough. It's like so hard. And so these moments, I always am like, because you try to do this thing where you're like, don't go too high, don't go too low. You got to try to stay in the middle. But like on occasion, you get a moment where you're like, that was just a good moment. And I see my parents and they're like, that was a good moment. And we just get to be in like, hey, maybe this wasn't an absolute mistake.
Yeah.
Because my parents weren't super excited about this choice.
Yeah.
And like, that was just really cool to be like, they're proud of me. I'm proud of me. That's not going to happen too many times. Like there's a couple times it happened on a set, last year that I like left the set and I cried because I was like, I did what I wanted to do on that set. I didn't panic. I was who I wanted to be. A famous person was there who I really respect, and I was exactly the Danny I wanted to be. I did the role how I wanted to do it. So I think that's it. And I think also then like you just get weaker as you get older. You get beat down. Do you ever feel it? I feel like, do you cry a lot? Where are you at on your crying levels?
I hope that reputation gets around where it's just like he cries, but it's a really good thing.
It's almost always when I cry, it's good.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
In sad or in panic, I'm much more like practical.
Yeah.
I cried a couple of weeks ago because of something that happened, because of a career thing, negative.
Oh, wow.
But then I got through it. But I had to have like a quick little like, God, just fucking like. But it was mostly anger, but a little bit of like choked upness happened.
I don't think you realize how healthy that is. That's so good.
Oh, I as someone who didn't cry for a long time, I think it's actually incredibly healthy. I think yes, I do think I had a lot stored up, but almost anything joyful, sports.
Yeah.
I'll get very emotional about sports because I think it's tied to my dad.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And then we're back to that.
And then we're back to dad. And then we're back to dad being proud of us, and we're here.
No, I struggle with it immensely because I think when things are difficult, I tend to get very just like shut down and I think it's the business that hardens you, but it's also the stand up of it. Something about it is just so like gritty. We'll perform anywhere. We'll experience the rejection not just by one person, but just by a bunch all right here. Mm-hmm. It's a lot, and I think you're right. There is a very rare moment where I think both you and your parents are proud. If you and your parents are both proud at the same time, that's so rare. Like if my parents can call me over and over and be like, we're proud of you about this or that, and it's like that. I'm not right. I'm not. So there's not a chance where both tiles are turned up.
You haven't had a career moment where you're like, I'm proud of this moment?
So a few. Yeah, I've had a few, but not to the point where, maybe when I did America's Got Talent,
I was going to say, I cried when I saw you on America's Got Talent. Yeah. I had trouble.
That felt different because it felt like in one way I was not necessarily vindication, but just validation for the trajectory that my life had taken, the detour that it had taken that I never anticipated. And so in those moments when I did that show, everything was very emotionally heightened. And the fact that kind of like what you said, where it's like, it's a tough thing to get your parents on board with. It's a tough thing to get them to try and support, or to be like, no, if you just wait, I can make something happen. And for me, with America's Got Talent, I that was the first chance that it was even heightened for them because they're like, he's injured, he went out there for a different career and he's not doing that thing, and now he's doing this.
What were you gonna do?
I was acting. I moved out here to do that.
Buddy, get back in the game. It's a nightmare. I can tell you rejection stories about acting that'll make you absolutely lose your mind. But I think you can act. Acting's going to be there for you when you want to do it.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. But for the record, I didn't know that.
Yeah. That was why I never wanted to do stand up. I always just I appreciated it, and I still appreciate it. Like when I get to see really, really talented comedians doing what they do. I'm just like, wow, I'm amazed to get to, I'm honored to get to watch it. But I never wanted to do it. I only when I got dropped by my reps, because I was doing on like a lot of like Disney stuff and 18 younger and all that kind of thing. When they dropped me, that was when I was like, all right, I gotta start to try to make this work. And my relationship with not just career but just with my speech has been just very tumultuous over the years, just feeling like, oh, like why did it all happen? Why is it, I'm glad that it's getting better, but I have anger for why it happened in the first place. A lot of things that's,
sure.
I think a lot of stand-ups we come from a place of just like, it's not all from pain, but sometimes it can be that way. So
I think there has to be a reason why because it cannot be over. How far in were you when you started dating your wife?
Stand up?
Yeah.
I think 6 years. 6 years, yeah.
Because my wife, like, maybe around there, but like, she's like, I've seen you grow, and I'm like, but you didn't see the early years.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
darkness that you have to go through as a comic for at least 2 years before it even gets remotely fun.
Yeah.
Even before you're even like, I think I'm competent, is so tough.
Yeah.
That I think like we'll always all have that.
Yeah.
We'll always have that in common. It's like,
How did you know that to ask a significant other to be okay with what it is that you do is so difficult too.
Totally.
How did you know that your wife was the one who was going to be able to, how did you know she was the one for you?
I didn't know. I did. I mean, I knew she was. I'd met someone very special. Yeah. I knew, like, I was like, this girl's very cool, but she's also, she has no. I mean, like, I'm almost gonna do my vows again, but it's like, she could have had such an easier road.
Yeah.
She's a beautiful girl. She just wants to have like a family and like live a happy life. And she got sucked into this nightmare profession that has some incredible highs.
Yeah.
But some unbelievable lows that we have to go through together. And all the time she's like, she could just be with a banker and like be so happy. Like, she doesn't need this. So I think I was always very surprised she was willing to stick it out, because we had such different ideas of what our futures were going to be like.
Yeah.
I wanted no kids. She wanted kids.
Yeah.
Someday we're going to have a kid. And like, that's a part of what we had to go through, was like, because I loved her so much. But she was always, I think she's still into it, but then I think she really, it's hard. I mean, I don't know how you deal with it, but like the ride or die-ness of it all. Yeah. Of like seeing, like the thing that happened a couple weeks ago, like her seeing that happen to me, and she's helpless. There's nothing she can do. She just has to watch me go through like a terrible event that I 100% put myself in the position to go through. Yeah. It's not anything happened that was a crime. I put myself in a position. I lost that thing. It just is what it is. That's acting. That's the game. Baby. And so, but she had to watch that, and she's like, she'd just be the banker, and they would just make money, I assume. Yeah. Probably commit some minor crimes. And that's it. He gets a cushy, at some point he gets caught, they have a cushy deal. But like, she'd be fine. She'd be so happy. And instead she's stuck with this. So I think that's hard to put on a significant other.
A minor crime.
Hey,
vandalizing.
He'd probably at some point fraud someone out of something. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to make money, you got to commit some fraud at some point, I think. That's what I'm told. I don't know. I don't know what to do with my money. We were talking about this on the way.
Yeah, I think that the ride or die-ness is a huge component. It's something that I love a lot about my wife is like, it's just it's just that belief to just pick up the pieces when they're all just down, like to just pick them up and just put them back together. It's hard. It's a hard thing to ask. It's a hard thing to ask someone to be near.
Totally. And the actual, like, because you can explain it out of the gates. You can be like, if you're really going to date me, it's going to be every night.
Yeah.
It's going to be every night. And I know you're thinking, it's not going to be every night. It's going to be every night. It's going to be every night. It's going to suck. Yeah. For me, it's also the acting side. So I'm like, it's always going to be days. Like, there's days I'm gone. You just won't. I'll come home and literally have to go right to bed because the set times are ridiculous.
Yeah.
Hours are ridiculous if you're acting. So I'm like, you won't see me. Sometimes after those, I'll try to do a set and I'll just come home completely exhausted, tired. I'm traveling. It's just really hard. And all of that will lead to years where I make no money.
Yeah.
Which is like, I've had some, we have years where it goes all ways. That is what it is. So it's like ride or die. But
it's a lot like banking, or at least a lot like interest, in that I think there are highs and lows, but you have to understand that hopefully the graph is somewhat doing this, where it's kind of doing that. And then eventually you hopefully hit a hockey stick where all that hard work has really refined itself and you found yourself in a good place.
Totally. And I do think, like, I will say this is such a like ridiculous thing to say to a degree, but you find yourself really understanding athletes better.
Yeah.
Because we have third grade jobs, and which is what I call it.
Yeah.
And you watch them and you're like, you like as a kid, you watch like a superstar quarterback and he's like, I've been dating the same girl since you're in high school. And you're like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You're successful now. You should be running wild. And now I'm like, oh my God, I never want to not be with my wife.
Of course.
She's been there through these dark times. I never want to go. Like, she deserves, if I ever can get to another place, like, she deserves to get that part too.
Yeah.
Because she's put in so many tough years.
And you had a really cool thing that you told me about that happened the other day where, well, I mean, it happened, but you told me about it the other day, which was, you were on set filming the TV show, Ted, which is, obviously produced and made by Seth MacFarlane, who I'm a huge fan of, you're a huge fan of. And he, it had to be cool hearing that you were doing a good job from Seth MacFarlane on set.
Yes.
Like, that's such a cool thing.
Yes. And without talking about the project.
Yeah.
Because union. But I will say that, yes, like moments like that where you come home and you're like, I did a good, like, that was one where, like, I did a good job.
Yeah.
I left that set. I was like, I did a good job. That was a person that was really intimidating to me to a degree. And I think I did well.
Yeah.
At some point I'll see it and maybe I'm terrible, but I think I did well. But that was really, yes, like her getting to, and look, she gets to experience even like the call that I got that was so exciting.
Yeah.
And the calls that you get things, because she's also seen the call. Like, I've had a lot in my career, more than the average bear, of you got it, no, you didn't. Wait, no, you didn't. I've had a couple of those where it's like I had it and I lost it.
Wow.
I've had a bunch.
That's fucking terrible, dude.
And it's tough. It's dark times.
That's got to be, and to have had that happen multiple times.
Multiple times. Where you're like.
Did they just change their mind last minute?
I mean, the one that happened like most recently was like, it was COVID, but it was like, I'm trying to think. I mean, I can't say the name of the show. Sure. But it was, I'm like literally going through, I'm like, well, it's off air, but I don't want to say it. But it was,
of course, don't. Yeah.
It was a CBS procedure. It was.
Jesus. I think you should say it,
Things
Danny.
Are falling.
That was weird. Yeah, don't say it.
Jesus. CBS heard about this. Something with a bunch of letters in a row show cast me in a role that was basically going to be like kind of joining The Office, which is just an unbelievably one of the most secure jobs you can have in Hollywood. A job that would set me up for so many things. It was so exciting. It was it was a really tough audition process, and I booked it. And my fitting was on Friday. Start filming it next week, and that was the COVID. That was COVID.
Wow.
And so COVID hit that Friday. They said, we're going to cancel your fitting. And then they were like, we're just going to, and then for a whole year, they kept emailing, being like, we're not going to drop you. Like to their credit, to a degree, being like, we're not going to do the thing. We promise you.
It's just a friend.
We're just trying to figure this out. And then they were like, of course we're going to drop you. And we were just dropping the whole role. And I was like, that's tough. That was tough. We were really counting that money. We were starting to count that money.
What was it about that audition process that was so arduous and difficult?
Well, so there's like two types of auditions, right? There's like auditions where you go in and you're like, I kind of know the person, right?
Oh, nice.
You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, well, because like all, I have so many friends who are successful. So it's like, you know, someone I know gets a TV show to place and they're like, oh, Danny's perfect for this role. So you go in and you're a little bit like, okay.
Yeah.
I have a real shot at this.
Yeah.
And so much of Hollywood is like someone fighting for you behind closed doors. Someone has to fight for you.
Yeah.
And then every now and then you go in and you're like, they don't know me from a hole in the wall. I'm going on a blind audition. I'm going to give it my all. But like, what are the odds?
Yeah.
They don't know me here.
Yeah.
And so when you do that first audition, they're like, they want to see you again. And then it's like, blah, blah. And then the third one, you're like, now it's a full room of people. And you're like, okay, we've gotten ourselves to a place, like.
You've built a show.
We did it. Yeah. I did one where I auditioned for this thing. This was during self-tape times. I send in a tape. Then they go, send us a tape of this other thing. I sent in a crazy tape. Basically didn't do what they asked. I sent in this crazy tape of me like kind of just like creating this thing around this character. They set up a test. And then like, so now you're at like now we're at the final stage.
So you sent a tape that they didn't ask for and they liked it.
So they sent a tape. So I sent a tape. Then they said, send a tape, kind of just like, sort of like improvising within a character.
Yeah.
And I said, we're going to do more than that.
Yeah.
Because it was basically like, do an interview as this character. And I was like, what we're going to do is we're going to do an interview that can't get off the ground because he keeps talking about himself. And it's about, so we made this like 4-minute like
piece
I love that. Of just me being like, are we getting the background? Because like you want to see, and like just showing, I just didn't do what they asked. Mm-hmm. I made a choice.
Yeah.
Because I was like, again, I was like, this is when I'm going in dark. They don't know me. I got to send in something crazy.
Yeah.
And they sent me to the final level. I test. I did really good. And then that one went to one of the people I was auditioning for. They just put themselves in the role. And that was a tough one. That was a tough day.
Wow.
They just watched me do it and they were like, yeah, we can just do that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's got to be tough.
It was a dark day. But Jess was there for that. Jess had to watch that call.
Yeah.
Because she also had to watch the call being like, y'all like, wow, like this is big. And it was like, we're doing that whole like, oh my God, like what does this mean?
So how do you stay 51% at least optimistic? And where would you break down your percentages in terms of like optimism versus how you can be negatively viewing a situation? Because it's got to be so difficult to have something like that. I don't get excited about anything ever, but you still somehow have to give off energy that opportunity's around the corner.
Totally. And you have to, and I say this, if you are a good stand-up comedian, like someone who I watch and I go, wow, they're actually good, right? They've worked hard. I go to me, I'm like, a couple things kill a career, which is like substances can just take you out. Mm-hmm. Like if you just can't get it under control, and there's people we know who are so talented, they just can't figure out the substances. Then it's like, but the one that I see the most is bitterness. Mm-hmm. Bitterness kills careers. Mm-hmm. And bitterness is so easy to fall into in this town. You go, the cards are stacked against me. It's not fair, which it is. It's not. Mm-hmm. It's stacked against you. If you want to come to this town, you don't know people, you are going to get absolutely railroaded over and over again. Mm-hmm. But I still, at the end of the day, I go, if you can be a nice person, get better every year, and not get bitter, I do think at the end of the day, you will be okay. Mm. I still believe that to my core.
Yeah.
And that is like my kind of just I hold there. Is I'm like, just just stay in those three things. I'm not going to I'm bitter, but also but I'm not. I'm not going to let them push me into bitterness. I'm not bitter. I still believe in this town. I still believe in I still believe that if I keep getting better, I will eventually good things will happen. That's what I try to do.
Yeah. I love that. That's just enough. That's just enough closeness, but distance to that idea, both at the same time. And I think that's it's healthy enough that you're like, all right, the foundation's in place, but I don't need to do any more than that. Because if you start to think and overthink more past that, it'll fucking ruin you.
Totally.
And especially the injustices of it all. The injustices of it all is what is my favorite. Incidentally, the injustices of the industry is what I love most about my POV on stage, is saying the injustice of something. It's in that way, it's almost therapeutic.
Totally. And you can, it's not fair.
Yeah.
It's not going to be fair.
I want to ask you, because what we do on the pod is I always ask somebody if there was a time that they remember career-wise or personal where they doubled down on themselves. They bet on themselves, took a risk, and you remembered it backfired or it paid off in a huge way.
I would argue my last special was a huge double down, and we could argue a loss, right? Didn't go super. It just didn't catch in a massive way. It got a ton of write-ups. Mm-hmm. I think anybody who has watched it really loves it.
I think Vulture wrote up about it.
New York Times.
Yeah.
Incredible write-ups.
Yeah.
Because I did something incredibly risky. I did something that was told by one streamer in particular. People don't care enough about stand-up to want to go through what you're asking them to do, which I was like, totally fair. And then I did it anyway. Doubled down, spent a lot of money. Didn't really go viral. Yeah. It just didn't really happen. They kind of were right to a degree. But I'm proud of the work I put out, and I still believe that'll come. I still believe in the karma. I think someday people are going to find that thing and it'll get its moment. And when they do, I think it's really cool. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, it's hard not to call it a failure, right? Because spoiler alert, if you're going to watch it, the end of it is about don't trust these opinions. Because I revealed to the crowd didn't know what I was going to do. So I just did it. And then I revealed at the end what I was doing. Mm-hmm. And so they were, it was because I told, we had a very small circle knew what I was trying to do. I just, comics would sort of be like, you're doing this thing where you keep changing your opinion on stage and it's weird. But no one, and we kept it a secret. So there was this really cool moment at the end where I revealed to the crowd what I'm doing. And I said, don't trust these jokes. And it was it's this really beautiful point, I think, at the end about, make sure someone actually believes what they're saying. And that special has, good amount of views on YouTube, but millions of views in Reels.
Yeah.
And tiny clips.
Yeah.
Of people going, that's right, aliens are all conspiracy theories. And people being like, that's right, they're stupid. And literally the special has been taken in mostly in the exact way I feared. Mm-hmm. In the exact way I was trying to prove we shouldn't be taking in material. Exactly what happened.
In what way?
People will watch the clips and they'll be like, oh, he's pro conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
And I'll literally go into I'll find my special that clip in conspiracy theory blogs and stuff like that. And I'm like, but the context was
was not that.
That wasn't what I was trying to say. So that part kills me.
It sucks because it sucks when something's so creatively, so ripe with creativity.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, things just don't hit in the way, especially when you have write-ups and you've got the momentum of being I know what I'm building. I have a theme around this thing. It's tough. And it's tough when you're this did not write out in the expectation that I wanted.
Totally. It's hard not to feel that disappointment in it. But then you're well, at the end of the day, I would do it again. I still really believe in what I did. I still think what we made is incredible.
Yeah. How long after you released it did you realize you were okay, this isn't getting what I wanted to get? but you revive or regenerate to a place of being like, but you know what? I'm on to the next thing.
Because
that window, sometimes it's a day, sometimes it's a week. Sometimes
totally. Well, it's also so hard because like, you have one special, two specials.
I released 2 this year.
Wow.
They're little mini specials, but yeah.
How long are they?
40 minutes.
I mean, that's
What I just mean,
But, but like rebuilding an hour is a nightmare.
Yeah.
So it's hard because it's out and it's not doing what I wanted it to do, and then on top of that, I'm like, and I'm
out
bad.
Of jokes. Yeah.
And I'm bad on stage. And my first special, I really cheated the system where COVID hit. So I had Zoom shows for like 6 months to kind of build a little, so I had a little baseline.
Yeah.
And there was one, and so the closer was actually existed for the last special, existed during the first special, but I didn't include it because I wanted to build the whole thing around it. So I had a monster at the end. And I knew that. So I had this one, truly, we started at 0 and it was tough. But then the beauty of stand-up is, and this is like the upside, right? Is like you work on a joke, you do those 3 minutes in the middle, doesn't work. You're like, fucking kill me. Fucking stupid. The whole night's been. But then a week later, you do it and it does hit. And you're like, oh my God, it was so worth it. It's so fucking worth it. Like, now I got it. The high school bit's clicking. And then like you're building. So it's like, I will say the thing that always helps me get over it is I'm like, well, now I have these new jokes.
Yeah.
And I'm going to start, this next special I'm going to do is going to take forever and way too ambitious and probably going to be an absolute disaster. No one's going to want it because it's stupid, because it's a dumb thing. It's a dumb thing to do for an hour, but I believe in it. So I'm going to start working on that. And then I have but that's all you do is you're just like, I still believe, I think you also, you know what it is? And I think you've done a very good job of this. You have to believe in your own product. And if the market's like, we don't like that product, it's like, well, that's the product I'm going to keep putting out. I'm going to put this product out. And when you guys decide you like this kind of product, I'm going to be here. Mm-hmm. But like, I see people try to change their product. You can't.
Yeah.
What's the thing you do well? Just do that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to hold strong on my product.
Yeah. And I think, like I said at the beginning of the pod, I think it will. I think the pendulum does come back. You just have to be sure of yourself, and it really, in this own sadistic way, it really does make it like all the losses were worth it if the payoff that does eventually happen led to whatever that thing is. And
I think the payoff will be greater, right?
Yeah.
It's like I don't know. I still always am like, wow, at that moment where it does work out, which like, granted, I think the only thing I've had is I've had that moment and then I've lost that moment a couple times. So I've done like the crying, we did it call, and then had to do like, we didn't. we in fact did not. We have not done it. We're back. We're back where we were. So I've had a couple of those, but I still believe in like that moment will be so much sweeter.
That's my biggest fear, by the way, is doing the cry, we did it, and then not, because that's why I won't celebrate. That's why.
I know. I literally, because I was like, I booked the thing. I did the thing.
Yeah. It's a nightmare. That's got to be a fucking nightmare.
Do you want to see it? Do you want to see an insane Danny Jolles one?
Yes, of course.
Okay. And you can maybe include. I'm trying to if I can find it, but online, because there is a visual. When I first moved out to LA, okay, all I have is a commercial agent. First audition they sent me in for is for Coca-Cola, and it's this campaign called it's AHH, and what they were doing is they did AHH.com through 20 H's. Each one is its own site with games, things.
Oh, interesting.
Very cool idea.
Yeah.
And the one thing that it has is they're like, there's going to be a scientist who takes you through the laboratory. That's their big commercial. The big commercial is going to be this 60-second commercial with one guy takes you through, And then there's gonna be all these like little commercials, and we do it, and so I audition. They call me back immediately. I book it, and I'm just trying to find it, but this is great stuff as I'm distracted while telling this story. Here we go. Wait, did I find it? Yeah, baby. So I filmed this thing, and it's my first real thing is the face of Coca-Cola. I like film this commercial. It goes great. I do, they like take this photo with like this monkey. They're like, anybody who's a Coca-Cola spokesperson does this. It's a lot of money, obviously.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, I'm the face of Coca-Cola. I mean, here we go, baby. Like, film it, do it. It's a good shoot. I felt good about the shoot. And also, like, when I show up to set, they know everything about me.
Oh, wow.
Anything I've ever done. Like, they did such research on me. I was like, of course they are. I'm about to be the face of Coca-Cola.
Be Coca-Cola.
I'm about to be Coca-Cola. And so then afterwards, they're talking to me, and they're like, you know, telling me kind of like all these plans, but they like don't, you know, but it's like, and then all of a sudden they stop talking to me. There's no more talking. And I'm like, that's concerning, but I'm reading articles because it's such a big campaign. There's all these articles about AHH.com, blah, blah, blah. And then I go one day online and I meet the new Coca-Cola scientist. And this is the genuine commercial that they aired. I'm going to show it to you.
Oh, yeah.
And then we can.
Yeah.
But
we can play it at the same time.
So that is a cartoon polar bear head over my face. That's my body. But that is a cartoon polar bear head and cartoon polar bear arms over my arms.
This is you?
That's my body. That's not my voice.
It's not your voice, though.
Not my voice. Just my body. Just my torso is what made it.
It's meant to taste like that. And a drink this complicated can only be described in one simple word.
What? What the fuck?
Is that not the craziest thing you've ever seen?
What the fuck?
Just picking up a cold bottle of Coca-Cola.
Why?
Nobody knows.
Why? There's no way that campaign.
It was one of the biggest failures of all time.
Yes.
They spent millions on it. And literally, I remember the first comment was like, why is it a human body? And I was like, great question.
Wow.
Something must have happened in post where they were like, we can't sell Coca-Cola if this guy's the face of this company. But like, we're going to lose millions if we let this guy be the face. And so Coca-Cola, yeah, they fucking put.
Last minute, just like that.
Just like that.
They do all their research, all of this, and then they get all fucking fluttery.
They got fluttery and they were like, but keep his body. That's the part that'll always get me. Keep his body in there. It looks so ridiculous.
If there's one thing we got right, it's Danny's body.
Look, he crushed it with his body. But then also being like, but we can't have his arms. His arms, that's going to be too much. That's why, like, when people are like, AI is going to take our job. I'm like, guys, you don't even know what can happen to you. You don't even know. You don't even know. All right? You think AI is the problem? They could put anything over you. They could destroy you.
Unbelievable.
That was a tough one. That was a good, but that one's like one of the funniest ones. That one I remember being like, this is laughably stupid.
Yeah.
But it was so crazy.
Yeah. Because you've had some that are just not. Some of them are just so real that you're just like, there's nothing funny about this at all.
Some of them you have less fun, but some of them you're like, this is a good time. Yeah. We're having fun. We're having a good time.
Well, I appreciate you being able to come on and share so much. I mean, I admire so much about what you do, and I love that. You're just, like I said, you're just one of these rare people who you're such a good actor. You're such a good stand-up. I know your time is going to be soon. I don't know. Hopefully that's when the fucking strike is done.
I know. Right now it feels like it's not going to be anybody's time. But hey, baby, we're having fun. We're having fun out here. I walk the picket lines. I hold the sign. I say, hey, come on. What are we doing here? 2%? What are we doing? What are we doing? Let's figure this out.
I'm
are
glad
you in SAG?
I am in SAG.
Yeah.
I am in SAG.
Have you visited picket lines at all?
I haven't done any of the picketing.
It's a fun walk. Like if you just if you just want to like walk with a friend, it's a good way to do it. And like
I guess that's a good thing.
it's nice to feel like, oh yeah, this is like, I don't know. It's do I think that when I show up to picket that Netflix is like, oh boy, guys, we fucked up. Danny Jolles is out here. But I don't know. I think it's nice to be reminded, hey, we're doing this thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a big deal, and I think that there's a lot of people saying that this will be hopefully the last strike, but that's probably not the case. But people, I think that's what they're hoping to accomplish.
I mean, this is a massive, this whole streaming thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a problem. We gotta figure it out. I don't know. It feels like we're making $1 billion at the box office. Feels like there's money to go around, but that's just one Danny. That's just one Danny's take on the situation.
Yeah, it's also like I would feel I have just for so long been like, all right, I'm in SAG, but I'm not working as like an actor. I'm doing so much as I'm doing a lot as like putting my time toward like stand up.
Totally.
So I was just, I don't know, man. It just hit me when everything went on strike. I was like, oh, that's right. Yes.
I was caught off guard when SAG went on strike.
Yeah.
I did not think we would go on strike.
Yeah.
I was caught off guard. I was like, they're not going to let the actors go on strike. It'd be so stupid.
Yeah.
We're a front-facing union. We're the faces. You're going to have famous people on strike. That's such a bad look. You don't want that. Yeah, surely. 2%? 2%.
What is the 2% thing?
2%, I think, is what they're asking for on streaming residuals.
Oh.
That's all actors want.
That's doable.
It feels very doable to me. That's just me reading on it. I say 2%. 2%. It's easy. I could have the numbers wrong. I'm famously stupid. But I do think it's 2%. Is what I read. And then they said, we can't do that. And I said, why? I went, why? Come on. Let's talk about it.
2%.
Come on. 2%. You're only paying it if you're making money. It's easy. Then we all go back to work. No one's upset at you. Come on.
Well, other than all of the TV shows that you've done and your special, which is on YouTube. It's on your YouTube, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's on Don't Tell.
Oh yeah, it's on Don't Tell's YouTube.
So
That's right.
Yeah, one on my YouTube called 6 Parts.
Yeah.
Good time. But the one on Don't Tell's is called You Choose. It's an interactive comedy special.
Yeah.
I cannot encourage people to do it enough.
Yeah.
Do it with a friend. It's fun. You debate it.
Yeah.
Which way you're gonna go.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
I'm so proud of it. I'm really proud of it.
Yeah, it's really great. And then people can follow you. We are on it's Danny Jolles everywhere.
It's Danny Jolles everywhere.
Not everywhere, but everywhere is Danny Jolles.
Everywhere is Danny.
Yeah. I don't want people to think that's your handle.
No. Just a Danny. Just my name. We went with that wacky move. We just did my name. Yeah, I mean, I always I would also say to people, one of my biggest things when I do podcasts is how you like to say this, which is stand-up comedy is like hockey. It's fun to watch on TV, but it's better live. It's just different. It's a completely different experience live.
Yeah.
I encourage everyone to please go see me live.
Yeah.
Please go see
Same.
Drew live.
Well, don't plug me. I think people should go see you, and I mean it.
People go see you.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you're moving tickets, but come on. You still never know. You always could use some more tickets. No. Everybody always needs more tickets. But just go see, but also just look up your local comedy club and look up a comic. Make sure they have more than 10 minutes of actual material online, and then just buy a ticket. Just go see live stand-up because you will fall in love with the art form. It's so much better than you think.
Yeah.
Even when you watch it online, you really haven't experienced it till you see it live. Go watch live stand-up comedy. And yeah, man, you're the best. I really appreciate you having me.
Thanks. I'm glad you came here, bud. How we do, Isaac?
1:15.
1:15.
Hey, that's a great number.
That's great, guys. We're wrapped, guys.
Have you ever had a dream that you had to do so much you could do